The moment she walked through the door, the scent hit me. It wasn't the usual floral perfume she always wore. It was my cologne, the one I had been using for years. "Welcome home," I managed to say, though the words felt like shards of glass in my throat. "How was the trip, Sarah?" My wife of 6 years forced a smile, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Amazing. We had so much fun. You wouldn't believe it," she said, dropping her weekend bag with a thud. The sound clashed against the heavy silence that had settled between us. The so-called girls' trip had always felt a little off. The late-night whispers, the hushed phone calls, the way she avoided my eyes whenever I asked for details. And now, the unmistakable scent of my own cologne on her was the final, damning piece of the puzzle. I tried to act normal, but this charade was exhausting. "Glad you had fun," I said, forcing a smile. "Dinner is almost ready." I watched her move around the kitchen, a place we had built together, a space once filled with warmth and love. Now it felt tainted. Her movements, once familiar and comforting, now seemed foreign, like a stranger wearing my wife's face. Dinner was tense. We made small talk about the weather, work, even the leaky faucet in the bathroom. Anything to avoid the truth hanging between us. My stomach twisted with every passing minute. The image of her wrapped in another man's arms fueling a quiet, seething rage inside me. I wanted to scream. I wanted answers. But something held me back. A grim determination. A need to collect every last piece of evidence before I confronted her. After dinner, while she unpacked, I excused myself and walked to our closet. It had always been my sanctuary. A neatly organized space, a reflection of my structured mind. Tonight, though, I wasn't looking for order. I was searching for the truth. I wasn't expecting to find anything. I just needed to get away from her, to breathe. But when I opened the closet door, I saw it, tucked away in the back corner, partially hidden beneath a pile of her winter scarves. A man's jacket, not just any jacket, a dark, expensive leather one. The moment I touched it, I noticed a scent. Sandalwood with something metallic, like old coins. It wasn't mine. My hands trembled as I pulled it out. It felt heavier than I expected, as if it carried the weight of all my suspicions. The world tilted beneath me, like someone had yanked the rug out from under my feet. This wasn't just a gut feeling anymore. It was real, tangible proof of her betrayal. My chest tightened, my breath shallow. I stumbled back, the jacket slipping from my grasp. I stared at it, my vision blurring with a mix of anger and heartbreak. This thing, this piece of another man, was proof that everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie. I felt myself go numb. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sank to the floor, my back against the closet door, crushed beneath the weight of her deception. I didn't move for a long time. The numbness was easier than the sharp, burning pain of betrayal. But I needed a plan. The next day passed in a blur. I went through the motions, went to work, answered emails, even laughed at a co-worker's joke. But beneath it all, a quiet fury burned. I pretended everything was normal. I watched. I gathered evidence. I pieced together the puzzle. She had no idea, blissfully unaware of the trap she was walking into. She even started a fight about the laundry, about how I always mix darks and lights. I almost laughed at the absurdity of it. By Saturday, I was ready. I told her I had to work late. Instead, I spent the afternoon at the gym, channeling my rage into every rep, every punch, every drop of sweat. I needed to be strong, not just physically, but emotionally. I needed to be clear-headed. When the sun began to set, I parked my car a few blocks from her office. I knew he would be there. She always worked late on Saturdays. I waited in the shadows, my eyes locked on the building entrance. And then I saw him. Tall, arrogant, a swagger in his step that made my stomach churn. The same leather jacket was draped over his shoulder. He looked like the kind of man who thought he could have anything he wanted. I stepped forward, my movements deliberate, steady. "Excuse me," I said, my voice calm but edged with steel. He stopped, turned to face me. A smirk played on his lips. "I believe you have something that belongs to my wife." His smirk widened. "I don't know what you're talking about." Oh, but he would. I think you do, I said, pulling a photo from my pocket. It was buried deep in her phone, a selfie of them together. Her face flushed with excitement, his arm wrapped around her possessively. The smirk vanished from his face, replaced by dawning panic. See this jacket? I continued. My wife seems to have developed a fondness for your things, which makes me wonder, what else do you have that belongs to me? His eyes darted around, searching for an escape. He opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. Let's not waste any time, shall we? I grabbed him by the collar and yanked him into the alleyway. The fight was quick, brutal, and cathartic. Every punch was a release, a symphony of rage and pain echoing off the narrow walls. He didn't put up much of a fight, whimpering and flailing like a child. I didn't stop until my knuckles were raw, until he lay gasping on the ground. The look on his face was priceless. Gone was the arrogance, the cocky swagger, replaced with raw, desperate fear. Stay away from my wife. I growled, each word laced with venom, or you'll regret it. I tossed his phone onto the ground and smashed it under my shoe. Then I left him there, a broken mess, his world crashing down just as he had done to mine. When I got home, Sarah was on the couch, watching some mindless reality show. She glanced up as I walked in, mild annoyance flickering across her face. "Where were you?" she asked. I was worried. "Really?" My voice was dangerously quiet. "You were worried?" I walked into the bedroom, pulled her suitcase from the closet, and dumped it on the bed. "Look closely, Sarah," I said. "Look inside and tell me you don't recognize this jacket." Her face turned pale, her eyes wide with panic. I tossed the photograph onto the bed beside it. "And this, Sarah?" I asked. "Explain this." She tried to lie, stammering about how he was just a friend, a colleague, a misunderstanding. But her eyes gave her away. Her words were flimsy walls, too weak to hold back the weight of the truth. I watched her face fall, the mask of innocence slipping at last, revealing the ugly reality of her betrayal. "I'm done," I said. My voice was calm, despite the storm raging inside me. "I want you out. Tonight." She started to cry, begging, pleading, promising it would never happen again. But I was done. Done with her tears. Done with her lies. Done with the manipulation. I watched as she packed, her movements frantic, her eyes red and swollen. I didn't help. I didn't say a word. She deserved nothing from me. I stood in silence as she walked out the door, a pathetic figure, defeated and exposed. And as she left, I felt something strange. Peace. The anger was still there, but no longer all-consuming. Now, it was a cold ember, a quiet determination. She would not define me. Her lies would not shape my future. I had survived betrayal, and I had emerged stronger, wiser, with a renewed understanding of who I was. I picked up the pieces of my life and started to rebuild. Stone by stone, stronger than ever before. And in the silence of my empty house, I knew, deep in my heart, I was finally free.